Ladies and gents, welcome to my first impressions with Far Cry 5. I want to keep this short and simple because I haven't played it too much yet, but I think I got a rough idea of what the game is all going to be about. First of all, I've never played Far Cry Primal, so I'm going to compare with the games that I did play, which is Far Cry 2, 3 and 4. Now the game in many ways feels similar to Far Cry 4. The driving feels the same and kind of like the way the AI reacts as well. The game overall, the gameplay feels similar to Far Cry 4, however there are a bunch of new improvements to that, such as, for example, the world. The world is a lot bigger, there seems to be a lot more to do in it as well. When you go from point A to B during a mission or a side mission or whatever, during that trip you see a bunch of objectives you can do as well. Now if you do those small things you earn the reputation as well, and the more reputation you have, the closer you are to completing a region. And as soon as you complete that region, I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's probably gonna have to do with killing one of the bad guys. Gun customization is definitely something that is a bit more expanded upon this time around. There are some different variety of weapons in the game too. You can buy some camos with real cash as well, unfortunately, which doesn't really make much sense to me. Why you put microtransactions into a single player game, but I guess it is what it is. Of course, all that stuff carries over to multiplayer as well. I'll touch on multiplayer in just a second, but I feel like overall that the game is a definite improvement over Far Cry 4 so far. Story seems to be interesting enough as so far. Of course, I'm not very far into it, but the vibe I'm getting from the villain is very close to the villain we had in Far Cry 3, which was of course Vaz. It seems to have that very dark, very messed up kind of vibe to it, which is something that I really digged about Vaz in Far Cry 3. Unfortunately, the rest of Far Cry 3 was nothing but, I missed my friends, I really want to save them. And it was not a good story, but Vaz really, lifted it up for those short moments he was in the game. But this time around, it does seem to be that that villain is playing a much bigger role in there, meaning that the cutscenes that you do get are a lot more interesting. Especially the beginning of the game is pretty intense, I have to say. But of course, it's a Far Cry game. Story is most of the time not too important to the game. I've heard mixed things. Some people say like, who gives a shit about the story, and others say, well, it's actually a really good story for once. So curious to see what's actually gonna be the case. Touching on multiplayer really quickly, last night on stream I tried out a quick round of multiplayer, and I was very turned off very quickly by what the multiplayer actually is, or at least what I thought it was. It's basically a very bad version of Drop Zone from GTA Online mixed with PUBG. You start off from a helicopter or whatever it is, and you just parachute down and you have to pick up weapons. I don't necessarily know why this is a thing. It turns into people just, having all the weapons, you jumping down, having nothing, and then just have to rely, using your fists or whatever. The map design itself, I didn't like the vibe of it either. It looked really silly. I'll try to have some footage of that up as well. But it just, I don't know. I might have to play it a little bit more to get a better impression of it, but my very early first impression, not too good. I don't necessarily see anyone really playing this longer than necessary. I believe there's a trophy for it, so it does look like I'm gonna have to play it in order if I want to actually get the platinum trophy. But I don't necessarily think I'll be like, hey guys, who wants to go play some Far Cry 4 multiplayer? Or Far Cry 5, I should say. A quite cool thing about the way you access multiplayer though is that you have to access multiplayer through arcade systems inside of the world, which adds a nice extra little touch. I mean, like you had with GTA 4, you use your phone or whatever. The multiplayer overall, I hope there's more to it than what I've seen. If not, I'm gonna be really glad if I'm done with the trophies on it, because I am not a fan so far. The game seems to have a lot of content in there. If it's going to be the same type of content you're gonna repeat a lot, I don't know yet. But from what I've seen is that, like with the whole, going from point A to point B thing, you're having those little objectives. it does make your journey from point A to B longer, but it makes it more interesting as well, because you constantly get distracted by those little things like, hey, I could do this for a little extra points and, you know, maybe some ammo or maybe some what. There's always a little rewards in there as well. So it's definitely interesting in that way. It makes the game feel a bit more alive. However, it can be so distracting that at some point you're standing there for a good couple of minutes just fighting enemies who are constantly coming towards you. So you have to find the right balance between doing objectives and just going towards your destination you want to go. Obviously, you don't have to always take the road. You can just go straight through the mountains, which is quite fun if you have a quad bike. For some bizarre reason, you don't fall off the thing, which is fine, but it also adds a little bit of extra arcadey feel to it. So that's kind of it for my first impressions. If you played the game, let me know what all your first impressions down in the comment section down below. For those who are wondering about multiple opinions about the game, I have a full fleshed out review in a couple of days whenever I did beat the game, so look out for that if you're interested in that. Thanks everyone for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all later.